Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
You know, the real beauty of long-form storytelling is that it allows you time to really sit with characters. And you know, if you're within the sound of my voice, that must mean you are in the seats with once more. As always, my name is Dave Voigt, and I'm the host of this podcast, where we sit down with a wide-ranging variety of industry professionals and we pick their brain about current projects, state of the industry, how they got started, and so very much more in a light and in a conversational fashion. And you know, if you like how we do things around here, I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that you do, because you're listening right now. Subscribe, hit that subscribe button, give us the like, give us the old 5-star rating. Basically, wherever you get your podcasts, we're available over at Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Google. And we archive every single one of our episodes over at our In the Seats YouTube channel. So if you can give us a like and subscribe there as well, we would absolutely appreciate it. Also, do not hesitate to follow us on the social media, as the young people are calling it these days. We're on the Facebook, we're on the Twitter, and we're on the Instagram. You guessed it, we're In the Seats for all sorts of fun updates. And finally, and I do dare say most importantly, please pay us a visit over at intheseats.ca for all the latest and greatest from the world of film, television, basically the moving image at large, because if we love to write about it and talk about it and watch it, we love it when you come by and read about it and listen about it. So please, do us that kindness and pay us a visit. On this episode, we got a fun one. We got a big one, too. I mean, we are talking a little bit about Apple TV Plus and the current season of Shantaram, which is based on a novel, and it's the story of Lin, played by Charlie Hunnam, who is staring down the barrel of a fairly long, fairly harsh prison term after his life just spirals out of control. But he's on the run, and he escapes, and he makes his way to Bombay, and he is befriended, and by a twist of fate, he ends up living in the slum and living that lifestyle and sort of the adventures therein. It really is a fascinating story. It's set in the 80s, but it feels like it's Shanghai after the war, and it's got this really sexy and sort of mysterious tone about it. It's a fun and it's a really sort of compelling show that I could not get enough of. But we had the unique pleasure of sitting down with some of the stars of this fantastic show because they came to town, do a little promo, do a little work, and talk to us beautiful people. And first off, I had the pleasure of sitting down with the one and only Mr. Charlie Hunnam and Mr. Shubham Saraf, who, they're buddies. They're sort of best friends in the film, and it's, in the show, as it were, but it's a unique pairing, and it's, again, watching the show, there is this real chemistry between Charlie and Shubham, but also just a real sense of, humanity in it too, because Charlie's character Lin is sort of this lost soul, and he's looking for something, and he finds it in this slum in Bombay, which he never really expected to, and it's a fantastic piece of television, and I cannot recommend it enough on the Apple TV Plus streaming service. If you have not already signed up for it, I do recommend you go do that now, because they got so much good stuff going on. So just go to it and get to work, because again, I cannot stress this enough. It is a fun show. But first, before you do that, enjoy our talk with Charlie and Shubham, because between you and me, it's a pretty good one. Guys, obviously, first off, just thank you so much for the time today. I really appreciate it. And I mean, congrats on the show. I really absolutely love it.
Thank you good.
Thank you.
I mean, Charlie, I guess my first question is for you, man. I love this character. It feels like in watching the show, you knew him sort of inside and out, like pretty quickly. Like, walk me through sort of the origin of you getting involved in this project. Like, did someone send you the book? Did you get a script? Like, what was sort of the early days?
So 7 years ago, I got given the novel right before I was going to Thailand. I took it with me. I was going to Thailand for 10 days and I smashed the novel while I was there and fell madly in love with India, in that week in Thailand, and came back, with this sort of now new creative dream of being part of the team that would bring this to screen. And so it was for many years, it wasn't even really an option. It was owned by Warner Brothers. Johnny Depp was going to play Lin. But the problem was they were trying to adapt this 980-page Odyssey down to an hour and a half feature film. And it became clear for me, in my experience of television, that long form was really the way to do this. So long story short, the rights became available. I tried to get the rights. I failed, but we made a creative pitch to Greg David Roberts, the author, and he liked our creative pitch better. So once Apple bought it, me and my partner, who had given me this novel, initially went to Apple and presented ourselves, and they hired us. So that was the sort of the long journey to this. And then that was 4 years ago. It's been a bloody difficult
Never happens overnight, does
journey
it?
to get this to the actual screen.
No, I mean, I love this universe, and I mean, just sort of it being the 80s, but also just where you guys are. And I mean, these characters are so layered, but I mean, you are the shining light sort of in this universe. And I mean, like, walk me through sort of your initial reaction to seeing this character who has to be this positive person amongst these characters who are, looking for, have different motivations at times, but are like, especially with Lin's character, I mean, he's looking to do right, but he knows that he's not necessarily the best guy in the world either.
Well, it's an interesting question, because I think what I often say to people is that Prabhu is probably living the hardest life out of anyone.
Yeah.
He's like a guy in the slums in Bombay in the 80s. It's not easy. And like, I think when life is pushed to such an extreme, all you got to do is survive. And while you survive, you got to have the best time doing it. And I think that's the sort of lesson and heart that Prabhu provides to the story, which is he is, as you say, the light. Because I think Lin's character and what they get from each other is in this sort of extreme adversity where, it shouldn't work, but it somehow does. All you have is kind of survival, and the best way to survive is through love.
For
and
sure.
That's I think the motto that he lives by.
No, I mean, you guys obviously have great chemistry on screen, and I mean, that's not something you can teach. I mean, like, was there a moment when you guys knew it's like, okay, this is going to work, we're clicking, this is really good?
No, I mean, chemistry is that inexplicable sort of white whale that we all are searching for in this business of movie making, and it was essential. This basically really the heart of the novel and the heart of the show was this friendship. Shubham Prabhu is really the heart, the emblem of love, and the person who teaches the self-serving sort of selfish Lin, what it is to be altruistic, and to be in service of others. And so, it was really essential, and we really met on the job. We had our first scene where we sort of commune over dinner and a joint and whiskey. That was the first scene we shot together. And by the end of that scene, it was pretty clear that we were going to have a lovely time.
Yeah.
We weren't claiming that we felt like we had great chemistry, but we were enjoying being together, making each other laugh and tripping each other up in scenes, and and just sort of communing together on camera.
Now I'm curious from both your perspectives, because I mean, like you said, this isn't necessarily material that you can condense and put into an hour and a half movie. This is something you're really getting a chance to sit with. And what is it about this kind of material for you as actors that draws you in? Because I mean, again, like, all these characters have so many layers that you just really get a chance to sit with them. And I mean, no one's in a rush. And I mean, I think that's the beauty of the show.
Yeah, I mean, it is a real embarrassment of riches thematically, the source material. Greg is an extraordinary thinker, and he's tasking himself with telling a really compelling, brilliant, dramatic story, but also exploring sort of the meaning of life. Does God exist? What is the center of it all? Which are pretty lofty, aspirations to be, questions to be asking himself. And I think that just created like a playground for us in the adaptation, but then also for actors, that these are, multifaceted characters that are emblems of like the bigger thematic questions that Greg was trying to explore.
Yeah, nice. Manifestations of a certain sort of philosophy. Yeah, that was the best thing about it.
For sure.
You could just, in that way, it was kind of limitless, which does lend itself to like that space of like time, and you need breathing space and time for those questions to, breathe, I think.
Absolutely. I mean, it's interesting just to see it set in sort of this, setting of almost like an 80s film noir, which really works so well. And I mean, again, I can't wait for the rest of the show. And I mean, congrats to you both. And just thanks for the time today, guys. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much.
All
Right
right.
on.
And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu-ray rental, or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu-ray needs.